All right, well, good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with the Bible. We are still in our journey through the Psalms, and today we are looking at Psalm 86. If you remember, previously we've been looking at the last few Psalms have been sons of Korah. Um, Today, which we haven't seen for a little while, is a Psalm of David. There are 17 verses in this particular psalm. We're only going to hit the first 10. It's actually quite wonderful, quite deep in these first 10 verses. So I figured we will just break it up, leave it at those, just so we can get more out of it and focus a little bit more intently on what David is saying, what he is showing us, the kind of things that we can use as examples and apply them to our own lives today. As always, the Bible is always relevant. It is, as a pastor I just recently heard, he said the Bible is more relevant today than tomorrow's newspaper. That's not word for word, but that's the idea. It is always applicable to life in order to live out the life that God intends for us. So, without further ado, Psalm 86, a psalm of David. Bow down thine ear, O Lord, hear me, for I am poor and needy. Preserve my soul, for I am holy. O thou my God, save thy servant that trusteth in thee. Be merciful unto me, O Lord, for I cry unto thee daily. Rejoice the soul of thy servant, for unto thee, O Lord, do I lift my soul. For thou, Lord, art good, and ready to forgive, and plenteous in mercy unto all them that call upon thee. Give ear, O Lord, unto my prayer, and attend to the voice of my supplications. In the day of my trouble I will call upon thee, for thou wilt answer me. Among the gods there is none like unto thee, O Lord, neither are there any works like unto thy works. All nations whom thou hast made shall come and worship before thee, O Lord, and shall glorify thy name. For thou art great and doest wondrous things. Thou art God alone. So, here we are looking at the first 10 verses of Psalm 86, a psalm of David, and that's basically the superscription we have. We don't have any other details, but a prayer of David is what it says. It feels like, again, it's been some time since we've kind of got to dig into some of David's writings, and I've always found his writings to be quite profound in many ways, and for me this one is no different. This one is not much different. It may in fact be even more profound than some of the things I've read before, at least in my point of view at this point. It may change. I may read something that we've done before and find that it's more profound for the moment, but that's neither here nor there. David's writings are always quite profound. Now, there's no real identifier in this psalm that can clearly indicate the circumstance in which it was written. We don't know for sure, but I think this is what makes it so applicable. See, if we have a certain circumstance within the psalm that David is writing, within the prayer that David is writing, it could actually hinder our ability to make it more personal. The fact that this one is non-specific kind of lends itself to us being able to say, hey, I can relate to what David is saying without having to necessarily relate to the circumstances. If it was more specific, I think we could risk feeling like, well, this one doesn't really apply to me, or I can't really use it in this particular moment. Again, the fact that it's more general, more non-specific, makes it just that much easier for us to read it and go, okay, the moment I'm at right now in my life and my circumstances, whatever it may be, can easily fit into this mold of David's prayer here. And this is a good example. This is a model prayer of David that we can really use in almost any circumstances, because it's very general. Again, like I said, what we have here is a highlighted, as highlighted by my choice of title. Again, a model prayer. It's an exemplary model of a prayer for anyone who finds himself in need. Again, it's non-specific. It doesn't explain the circumstances under which David is, except for the fact that there is trouble. And trouble can take many forms. And so that, for me, makes this a model prayer, because it draws something. It lends itself for us to be able to make this picture more in line with what we're dealing with. His prayer opens up by recognizing God's sovereign and high position. So, bow down thine ear. The infinite height of God is above all. And so, by way of imagery, he would need to bow down his ear to come close. The other thing we can get from this is the need for David to feel the nearness of God. Bow down, come to me, and listen to what I have to say. It's a request for God to come close. Bow down, obviously, because he is high above all things. So bowing down is this image of, in order to get to our level, he does need to bow down, or lean down, lean in. Hey, lend me your ear for a moment, Lord. And there's a sense of intimacy in that picture, because it's, hey, come here so I can speak to you about something that's burdening me, without it being this long, drawn out, bombastic kind of expression. Lord, let's me and you get together, come down to me, and because I have a burden, I have something I need to lay at your feet. Another picture we have is given by the next part. For I am poor and needy. David is saying, bow down thine ear, O Lord, and hear me, because I am poor and needy. David is not capable, maybe by weight of burden or recognition of unworthiness. I cannot approach you, Lord. And obviously with that, he is in a sense approaching, because he's requesting God to come near. But it's this recognition, Lord, come to me, because I am poor and needy. And there's this dependence, this helplessness, this sense of, I can't do it by myself. This is also the first of many reasons given for this prayer. I'm requesting you to hear me, because I am poor and needy. That's number one. I am poor and I am needy. Therefore, I need you, Lord, to help me. Excuse me. Hear me, because I am poor. Hear me, because I am in need. The comfort of this is that this first verse puts David in a perfect place to hear God. Christ said, blessed are the poor in spirit. David is poor, and therefore is in the prime moment, the prime position for God to come near, for God to hear his prayer, for God to address something. Now we look at verse 2. Preserve my soul, for I am holy. O thou my God, save thy servant that trusteth in thee. David is seeking protection. Preserve my life, preserve my soul. He is, according to verse 14, and I'll jump to it, it says, O God, the proud are risen against me, and the assemblies of violent men have sought after my soul, and have not set thee before them. He is surrounded by proud and violent men. Even without great detail, we can presume that the situation David found himself in appeared to be life-threatening. Preserve my life, preserve my soul, because I'm surrounded by proud and violent men who do not see you for who you are. Now, he says, for I am holy. Preserve my soul, for I am holy. Now, we can probably all agree that this statement is not being made by a self-righteous man. Lord, save my life, because I am a holy man. Thank you. thank you. That's not what he's doing. David is always, with a few exceptions, quite aware of his sinful nature. But in contrast to those who seek his life, he is professing innocence. Protect my soul, because I am blameless in this moment. That I'm being surrounded without cause. I am innocent in your sight. This is establishing the sense of being forgiven by God and being justified by his grace. Save my life because you have made me holy. You have set me apart. Now, based on the remainder of this verse, it would not be difficult to suggest that David is attributing his referenced holiness to God in that he is a servant who trusts in thee. I save thy servant that trusts in thee. I'm holy because I trust in you, and you've made me holy. There was no pride in that phrase, but a clear, humble reliance on God. This builds the foundation for the next verse. Be merciful unto me, O Lord, for I cry unto thee daily, or all day long. He is crying for mercy. So obviously he doesn't see himself in a self-righteous position. Those who are self-righteous don't need mercy, right? Because he is completely dependent on God. I need mercy because I depend on you. If I'm self-righteous, I don't depend on anybody but myself. If I'm self-righteous, I don't need mercy because there's no reason for it. I'm perfect, right? Daily, or all day long, suggests this. He's in a place where he cannot rely on anyone else to save him. I'm relying on you. I seek mercy, and I cry unto you all day long, because you are the only one that can do anything. You are the only one that can save me. You're the only one that can protect me. You're the only one that can help me. Again, it shouts in the face of this self-righteous thought that just reading it out of context might attribute. This cry for mercy also sets down any notion that his I am holy statement, again, was of pride. Trapp put it, merit mongering. I am holy, therefore, no. He's not saying I deserve mercy because I'm holy. He's saying I need mercy because you are the one I depend on. Morgan also pointed out that this, O Lord, is the name Adonai. Be merciful unto me, Adonai, indicating this absolute lordship, showing submission and loyalty. If I'm self-righteous, I'm not submitting to anybody. I don't need to be loyal to anybody. There is no Lord over me if I'm self-righteous, but myself. Therefore, again, blocking out any possibility of there being a hint of pride in these statements. Now, this name Adonai is used 6 more times throughout this whole song. Now, David's constant use, again, as I always say, creates emphasis on the fact that David needed his Lord deeply. Again, he says it 7 times within this psalm, indicating there's a great emphasis on that truth, this great emphasis on that idea that David needs his Lord and he submits to him in loyalty. Now, if we look at verse 4, rejoice the soul of thy servant, for unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. Not only is David looking for protection upon his life, but he also requests joy. Give me joy in my soul. It is one thing to know you need protection from enemies, from those around you, from anything that threatens your life. But that may not remove them from your situation. Protect me, Lord. Well, he may protect you, but your enemies may still be all around you. The burden and fear that would accompany that would leave little room for joy. If it was just left at that, Lord, protect my life. Okay, David, your life is protected, but you're still surrounded by a bunch of people who want to kill you. There may be a sense of comfort in the fact that God has said he's going to protect you, but there's still a sense of, hey, why are these men still here? So joy is something that you just can't muster up on your own. Therefore, he's asking the Lord to give him joy. Give him joy in the midst of this moment where his life is being threatened. David recognizes that he needs it and that God is the source. Now, rejoicing in terrible situations, rejoicing in the Lord always is not something we just do in our own strength. It's not something we just go, okay, I'm going to have joy. It's not how it works. Our joy is in the Lord. The Lord is the source of our joy. We have joy in our salvation. Why? Not because we had anything to do with it, but because it's from the Lord. Salvation is of the Lord. Unto thee, O Lord, do I lift up my soul. Surrender, trust, reliance. Unto thee. I need you, Lord. So unto thee do I lift up my soul. Now, verse 5. For thou, Lord, art good and ready to forgive and plenteous in mercy unto all them that call upon thee. We find David's declaration of confidence in the Lord right here. Again, Adonai. David knows he can cry for mercy. He knows that he can cry for joy. Now, because he knows God is a good, forgiving, merciful God who eagerly responds to the humble call of his children, he can come to the Lord and request his ear. David knows these things. Now, not know exactly when this was penned makes it hard to pinpoint his previous experience, but he no doubt had firsthand examples of God's character in this way. David had an understanding of who God was, even in the early stages, even in the early Psalms, which again lends itself to David's wonderful confidence. And again, this is not confidence in himself, this is confidence in the Lord, which is where our confidence needs to be. Verse 6, give ear, O Lord, unto my prayer, and attend to the voice of my supplication. It would not be uncommon for a reiteration of request for God to listen at numerous times throughout a prayer of any kind. Now, I myself am one who will repeat such a plea multiple times, not as if it makes it more appealing to God, but it's almost out of necessity in desperation. You tend to repeat yourself again. Not because God needs to hear it more than once, but because you feel almost like you have to. You're compelled in a way to just, again, it's this idea of creating emphasis out of repetition. You know, when a child describes something that's cool or good or whatever, and the child goes, it's really, 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 really cool. Right? You get the idea that it's in a cool level that's way above the, hey, that was really cool. Again, there's this idea that it's building this importance, this value. David repeats himself because, hey, I really need this. Now, Poole wrote, he repeats and multiplies his requests both to ease his own troubled mind. Again, we think of that. We repeat ourselves really for ourselves, not because we think God's going to hear us more, but also to prevail with God, who is well pleased with his people's importunity in prayer. Okay, so we get the examples in Scripture where the widow is at the king and the widow is just pestering him constantly, and the king says, okay, give her what she wants. Now, it's not because the Lord is fed up with hearing us, but because he desires persistence. It's that ask, seek, and knock. All those three things, and this is for a believer, this isn't talking about salvation. Ask, seek, and knock in prayer for God to do something. All of those three things are you do it until you get a response. I'm going to knock on the door until the door is opened. I'm going to seek. You don't stop seeking for something until you find it. And when you ask a question, you seek, you're looking for an answer. You ask it. The child says, will ask a question until they get a response. Now in verse 7, in the day of my trouble, I will call upon thee, for thou wilt answer me. Now I talked with some men this morning actually about this particular verse. It was in conversation, and it is really a wonderful statement because it draws this intimacy, and I'm going to hit that here. David expresses his confidence in God in this verse. He knows God is near to those who call upon him. Trouble does not chase God away. He is near to those that seek him. But David also emphasizes, again, the intimacy of his request. He calls it my trouble, and thou wilt answer me. Well, God is omnipresent. He's everywhere all at once, handling every aspect of the universe. David understands God's ability to pay deliberate and personal attention to his prayer. While God is responding to prayer over here and responding to prayer over here and trouble over there and whatnot, God is able, because he is God, to hone in, no, but you could use it the other way, hone in onto your situation, to your cry, to your need, as if you were the only one seeking for his ear. That's just the way God works. And David kind of understands that in a realm where a lot of David's prayers, while being personal, are save us. There's a lot of prayers in Psalms that highlight this God's people. While that is all true and that is all accurate, David is highlighting, this is me. I need you. And he emphasizes that confidence by saying, you will answer me. You will attend unto me. Because that's how God is. That's God's sovereignty. Now in verse 8, among the gods, lowercase, there is none like unto thee, O Lord, neither are there any works like unto thy works. Now, God Jehovah is unlike any idol or god, lowercase, that man has created. His character is almost directly opposed to that of numerous pagan idols the ancients and the moderns have set up. Any ancient idol, any modern day idol, stands in opposition to God's character. The cool thing about Christianity is, and the Bible is, why would anybody write it that way on their own? I mean, to highlight the dependency of man upon God kind of flips all other religions on its head, because there's this humility in this, and it's opposed to every other idol that we place in our lives. And so not only is his character unique, his works have no match. Now, the works mentioned here in verse 8 are likely that of creation, because verse 10 speaks of what God is doing right now. So there neither are there any works, any creation, any works unto the works that you've done. Because in verse 10 again, he says, thou doest wondrous things. Verse 9, all nations whom thou hast made shall come and worship before thee. Do not consider this to be prophetic in that every knee will bow and every tongue will confess, but more to David's understanding that not just Israel, but people from all nations, all walks of life, all tribes, tongues, and whatnot, will worship God and glorify his name. This isn't everyone. This isn't 100% of God, of people. But there are groups and peoples and individuals in every category of humanity that either do or will seek God and worship before him. And thank God for that. Now, verse 10, again, for thou art great and doest wondrous things, thou art God alone. Here's the reason. People will recognize God for who he is and what he does. And if you are a believer, you can agree we worship God and seek to glorify him because of who he is, not because of us, it has nothing to do with us. And because of what he has done and still does. I worship God because of who he is and what he's done for me, in that he sent his son, sinless, God in the flesh, to live a life free from sin, to pay a penalty that I deserve, in order that I might have fellowship restored with God and spend eternity with him. And so, as Spurgeon states, note that the verb doest is in the present. The Lord is doing wondrous things. That's transpiring before your eyes. And that is absolutely true. In a world where everything seems to be going haywire, look around, and if you pay attention, you can still see God doing wondrous things, working through his people. And that's always going to be there. There's always going to be God's people who stand and do the work that they're called to do. There's always going to be God doing wondrous things in the midst of this crooked and perverse society. Let that be a comfort. Let this prayer of David be a model for you to recognize your need and to not be afraid to request his presence in such a way where it's just you and him. That's the wondrous thing about being a child of God, is this ability to get close and have real conversation with him. So there it is, Psalm 86, 1 through 10. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment. Tell me you like it. Tell me you hate it. Don't say anything, whatever. Do what you're going to do. And we will catch you next time when we finish up this psalm. Thank you as always, and God bless.